And salutations, humans and carbon-based life forms. This is your favorite Russian bot, the master of misinformation, permanently demonetized on YouTube. I am PutinBot here with the one and only GetAwesome Gaming. GetAwesome, how the heck are you?
Good, man. I'm glad to be here. Literally, physically visible on here. I'm glad to be that.
Yeah, I mean, for those of y'all who, y'all obviously don't know because we just got started. It's freaking hilarious because we had some really fun technical difficulties. So either basically what was happening is that GetAwesome could hear me, but I couldn't hear him, or I could hear him, but I couldn't see him. So the way that we resolved it was we just told Rumble Studio permission to do a damn thing, and here we are. So, I mean, it makes no sense to me. But for those of you who do not know, GetAwesome, a good guy, personal friend of mine. I've known him now for like 2 years, 2.5 years, something like that. It's crazy.
Gotta be, at least. Yeah.
He's a husband. He's a father of two. He streams mostly at nights on Twitch. I'm working on getting him over here to Rumble. And he's also on YouTube. He is streaming Souls and Souls-like games, as well as Monster Hunter. I don't know what Monster Hunter is. He can tell me because, unlike me, he is a proper content creator. But he will be delving into other genres. So GetAwesome. Tell us all a little bit about yourself. Like, how did you start streaming? How did this all start?
So I don't really know what specifically was like, hey, I should try this out. I think it was just sort of a situation where I didn't really have any creative outlets, and so it just kind of made sense to like, okay, I want to make something. I'm not particularly a good artist or anything like that, so the idea of producing video content seemed like just a good way to express myself visually in a means where I'm not going to sit here and say I'm talented, but I would at least say I'm a more talented content creator than I am relative to being an artist. So,
Well, I can definitely tell you right now, you are a much more gifted and talented content creator than I am because you can actually make you can make the little round bowl that your head sticks in whenever you stream. I struggle just stitching two words together, and I see you over there on Twitch and Charlemagne on YouTube. Hello, everybody! If y'all are not following GetAwesome, do me a favor, follow this man. Links are down below. At least they should be. If they're not, I will fix it. Just let me know. So one of the things I will let y'all know is that GetAwesome, he's like me. He's an old school gamer. PutinBot rocks. I see you there, Tiger Lily. Tiger Lily over there on Rumble. GetAwesome like me. He's like an old school gamer. Like he actually knows what EverQuest is, which is rare. Matter of fact, I've actually talk crap with him way back machine, and and there's a lot of just things going on with the gaming industry, and GetAwesome is just the best person that I know, honestly, who can tell us what is going on with the gaming industry. Like, where's it been? How's it changed? Where's it going? So I'm going to shut up and GetAwesome. You tell me where it is that you see this train wreck going.
Well, if you're going to say the gaming industry, I think really you have different bowls to put everything into. I mean, you got your indie bowl, and then I think you have your AA, AAA. I kind of don't separate the two because it's really, there's a difference in production as far as like the size of the team, but it's the same general process. East, I think the East has kind of been doing what the East has always done, right? For the most part, I don't think they buy a lot into what's going over here in the West. In the West, I think it's very similar, unfortunately, to what's going on with a lot of other different avenues or mediums of entertainment, where there's certainly a cultural push within them, and unfortunately, I think it's reflected creatively now. Like, people can use the term DEI or whatever they want to say to address it. I don't necessarily I'm of the mindset that just because a person thinks a certain way, that doesn't mean that they can't create something that's interesting. I would think, PutinBot, you are a big fan of Larian.
Yeah.
Which I would say, if you've looked at the things that have come out from Larian, At least, I mean, there's not a whole lot of statements that come out from them, but I would say they culturally lean a little bit lefter
Oh,
as
very much so.
far, yeah, yeah. But the difference is there's still quality control going on there. It's not like a corporate structure where they're being hired based on identity. Like they still have to justify themselves as a creator. And so I don't think it's that it's a specific way of thinking that's leading to a lot of the problems that is going on in the game industry. I think it's a structure, and a lot of times that way of thinking is woven into that structure. But that's why I think Larian's a perfect example, because there is some of that thinking there, but the structure around it doesn't exist that creates a lot of the problems, in my opinion.
So do you think it's more of an issue between the mainline studios, kind of like Blizzard or Microsoft, who are accountable to shareholders versus an independent studio like Larian that is directly that's crowdfunded by its fan base?
I do. I think it boils down to who are your investors? Because at the end of the day, like DEI stems from like ESG, stems from like BlackRock and all of these big corporations that do the investing as far as these go. And so a lot of this stuff is done purely for investment. So when you go back to these investors with certain statistics, you're saying, hey, we've hired X number within this, group, and within this identity and within this identity. And so you're using it as an actual metric. It's not just something where, people within the studio happen to think a certain way. It's literally like a statistic that you're using to get people to invest further in you. So it doesn't, like, you're not looking at the quality of the hire as long as they can, check these boxes off.
Gotcha. Does that also kind of play into whether a game is released before it's finished, or do you think that sometimes you got those pressures on the back end, kind of like Cyberpunk comes to mind, where they try to rush development and release a game that's only half finished?
I think that's a lot of a case by case basis. So like I look at Cyberpunk and I see like a very like CD Projekt Red is a very talented studio. Like I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, these are a bunch of amateurs. Like they're clearly very talented. I
Right.
think they were just they were biting off way more than they could chew. So, in the end, if you look at Cyberpunk as it stands today, which is no justification for how it released in, is like, yeah, if given time to really reiterate that project and finally get it to a point at which it's actually like a good playable game, they do eventually got there. But the problem was is they promised so much that they just had no experience in delivering. So many different things within that genre were so far different from what they did with The Witcher or anything like that. But there, that's not to say that that's the problem across the board. There's been so many games that have come out with busted PC ports. Star Wars Jedi Survivor about a year ago. I played Wild Hearts. It had an awful PC port. I really don't know what the issue is, particularly with the PC porting process, because I know that there's obviously there's a lot more deviation in hardware. You don't have, like you do with console, where you have this enclosed system and you really don't have any variables in there. So, like I said, it can be a litany of different things that kind of lead to releasing a broken game and then having to come back. It can be studio venturing out of their comfort zone. It can be not having enough resources to throw at porting for a platform with a lot of hardware variability. It can just be that the studio isn't particularly talented. Like recently, Black Myth Wukong, which is a game I'm going to be playing Friday. Really excited for that, but they came out like 2 months prior and said that they're delaying the Xbox version. Now, whatever their reasons are, they said, optimizing for the platform, but they're a new studio. They're a Chinese studio, never handled a game like this, and they're trying to get their game to work on Xbox, particularly the Xbox Series S. They're not, it's just a situation of resources and talent not meeting the needs of the platforms that they're trying to release on.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I can definitely see that. And like, I've picked up Cyberpunk and I'm going to start covering it here on the channel probably within the next week or two. And I've kind of tinkered around with it a little bit. I'm liking what I see with it. And and it definitely has a feeling of a finished game. But everything that I read about it when it was first released was that it was a train wreck. It really kind of
Oh yeah.
reminded me, again, kind of going back to the old EQ days, Sony with EverQuest.
Yeah.
Back when Sony got it from Variant, of course, what they did was that they wouldn't fix any of the bugs. They just pushed out more and more expansions, and they really killed their own golden goose, which seems suicidal to me. But am I wrong with that? I mean, do you agree with that, or
In regards to CD Project Red, as
well,
regards
just
to
well, just some of the newer AAA studios in general? Like they're so interested in just pushing out content that quality control just seems to take a back seat to what it is that they're doing. And I saw it with EverQuest back when World of Warcraft came out, and like the first few expansions that EverQuest did, like they had Ruins of Canark,
Ruins
they
of
had
Canark,
Scars of Velios, really good. And then when they released Shadows of Luceland, they're just like nothing works. Like none of the
yeah.
quests work. Everyone's just broken. People would go in and report, say, "Hey, these are issues. These are problems." And instead of actually addressing the concerns, Sony is start pushing out more and more and more expansions instead of actually listening to the player base. And World
Right,
of
right.
Warcraft ended up eating their lunch.
Well, I think to be like that was a I think that was a particular situation in which they came into the market with not really any significant competition, and then along came this competitor and they were trying to scale up their operation to match what World of Warcraft was doing, and they just weren't in position to do that. Um like I said, I think each case is its own unique situation. There's definitely a lot going on with content being pushed out that's subpar across the gaming industry. I think if you look back at EverQuest situation, though, it was really relevant that the fact that they came in with no competitor and then they suddenly had to respond to this massive competitor and they just weren't scaled up to deal with it, you know?
Yep. Yeah. And I mean, I'm of the mindset that competition is a good thing. And if you need to learn, you need to kind of adapt with it. And it seems like more and more now, even with PC games, it seems to me that a lot of microtransactions, micro purchases seem to
Yeah.
be the flavor of the day. Am I seeing that right? Is that more of a trend even with PC games, or do you
It's
think that that's something they're going to get away from?
I don't think it's going to be something that is going to be gotten away from per se. I Here's the thing that I see going on right now within the industry as far as the direction it's headed. And you can kind of see it with what Sony did this generation. Like if you look at the PS4 generation, they had all these like fantastic single player games that were like what their platform was based on, and they became kind of synonymous with that thing. And then they moved into the PS5 generation and they said, okay, we want to get into the live service market. And that's where everybody wants to get right now. Everybody is chasing Fortnite's lunch and nobody is catching it, unfortunately. And like, let's be honest, Fortnite is still kind of one of the main games within that space. And like, how far are we removed from it being like the big hit phenomenon? You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So there's going to be, unfortunately, I think microtransactions are kind of here to stay. I think the better games make them very avoidable. You know, they'll try to make, cosmetics or just like in-game, just things that you can use in game that change the appearance or something like that. I don't
Right.
agree with them, but if I can avoid them, it's one of those situations where it's like, at least if I don't have to interact with you, if I can just buy the game, experience the game, and I don't have to get into paying extra for all this visual nonsense, then I'm okay with that. But, so many different instances of gaming companies kind of stepping over that line. I mean, I think we've gotten out of the loot box era. I think EA kind of did that in with Star Wars Battlefront 2 when that whole fiasco unfolded, and it was basically released as a completely pay to win system. But now it's like everybody wants to release a game that they can sell you battle passes for. I think you look
Yep.
at Diablo. That's what they've done now. basically everything wants to put a battle pass on there, as opposed to microtransactions, because they realize microtransactions are avoidable. It's you can see X amount of money for X thing or for Y thing, and you can decide whether that's a value, as opposed to if they can get you into a battle pass, there's all these different things you can get in there. And so in your head, you're going to do the math of, okay, well, all these little things that I'm buying all have their own individual value. And if I pay for the base battle pass and I get all of these things, then at least I'm getting something for my value.
Gotcha.
And I think that's really where they head. And I kind of steer away from the games that have the battle passes in them, just because I get what they're trying to do. But even with microtransactions, like they've tried everything with it. I mean, you can look back to like, for instance, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, where it's completely a single player game, but you could buy XP boosters, you could buy gold boosters, you could buy something that would literally make the single player game progress faster for you.
Right.
They've tried every different thing with it. And it's kind of gotten to a point where there's just so many different avenues of monetization that everybody just kind of has to pick the least annoying one.
Right. And I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of people really, you mentioned Larian earlier. I think that's one of the reasons that people really liked them, is that they made it very clear that there were going to be no microtransactions. There wasn't going to be a quote unquote battle pass. The game that you buy for $60 is going to be the full complete game. And now, granted, I mean, it was in early access for like 3.5 years. I mean, they started just after they started, COVID hit, and then their studio in Russia got shut down because of the whole Ukraine war thing. And it's just like everything that could possibly go wrong did, but because they're fan funded, they didn't have to answer to investors. And they made it very clear, like, they are not going to just pimp themselves out, for lack of a better word. And let me see, Tiger Lily, thank you for the Rumble brand. I appreciate you. Thank you for the donation. And one of the things I was looking at Diablo, because I'm used to watch you stream that over on Twitch.
Yeah.
And then whenever I saw what they're doing with the battle passes, and I watched your videos about it, it was like, this is not a game I'm interested in buying. I want to buy the whole game.
Yeah, I did really well on Diablo for about 2 to 3 months, and then they had it was their 1.1 patch where they basically just completely rebalanced the game, and it more or less resulted in pretty much an across the board nerf to everybody. And it was right before they were about to ask you to pay for their first battle pass. So it was like, hey, we're going to take this power from you so you can pay us to go ahead and get it back over time. And that's sort of just how that played out. And you could just watch, that game went from like, it was up here as far as interest, and it just cratered immediately. And I don't think they've done some stuff in season 4 with like changing the itemization. And I haven't really gone back, but I've heard good things generally about it. But they might be able, when they do release the expansion and they have a new playable class, people will probably at least dip their toes in to see how the new class is, things like that. But they did so much damage to their game, which is bizarre, because they kind of already went through a lot of this with Diablo 3, with the real money auction house that they tried, which is probably the most bizarre monetization scheme I've ever seen in my life.
Well, they did what?
Have you ever heard about the real money auction house in Diablo 3?
I have not. I'm intrigued. Please tell me more.
In Diablo 3, you could sell your loot to other players, and then, like, obviously Blizzard would take a little cut. Now, the problem is when you're playing the game, you want your character to get stronger. And so what they would do is you would get loot for all the other character classes, which does nothing for you, which then forces you to partake in the auction house to exchange items for things that you actually need. And that works about as well as it sounded like it would work. They ended up having to close it down, and they just basically they released the expansion, and it kind of saved the game. But yeah, it was really bad right out the rip. Like, and so it's like they learned absolutely nothing from Diablo 3. It's kind of crazy.
I'm laughing so hard right now. GetAwesome. I'm actually crying. I mean, this is hilarious. I mean, that's something that I could have seen Sony do back in the day. Oh, Oh, you have to do this 24-hour camp, and you got these people who are literally just poop stocking right here, and they're going to then sell you like this.
Oh no. Technical difficulties.
Uh-oh.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, I know it hiccuped on me hardcore there. I don't know what was going on. I'm just sitting there like, oh God, what's gonna happen?
Who knows, man? I mean, listen, I mean, the fact that to make Rumble Studio work, you have to deny it access to everything. I mean,
at least
we'll roll with it.
At least we got it functioning. Like there is hope for it. It needs a lot of work, but there's definitely some hope for it. It's just
oh man, it's so much
definitely
better
a work in progress though. It's definitely still a work in progress. The process for me getting here alone, like what?
Yeah, no, that was wild. But one thing though I am glad about is I can actually stream now in high definition and not on dial-up.
Yeah.
So that was what we're talking about is if y'all go back and watch some of my earlier streams going through Rumble Studio, it was so bad. There was just dropped frames, slow down, stutter. Just it looked like I was streaming on a 486 on dial-up using America Online. It was at least they've got past that part. So we'll get there.
I will say this: I have not gotten into the Rumble Studio yet, but I do respect what they're trying to do. I think the idea of allowing you to not have to invest to multi-stream is fantastic. I think the idea of Rumble as a platform, if you really want to take it off, you really do want to try to gain some momentum in the access point. Like there's so much with OBS and Streamlabs and all of these different softwares that people use. And it's like, well, you might not be able to compete with YouTube per se on YouTube's level as far as like overall views or anything like that. But if you can compete with OBS and Streamlabs and you can get something going on to where you don't have to subscribe to Restream to multi-stream, I think there's definitely an avenue for them there. It is still, like I said, work in progress, but
it's going to take time. But I mean, from back when they released back in February, where it is now, it's a night and day difference. And one of the big things I can honestly say, I mean, I'm biased. I mean, my primary content, my primary platform is Rumble.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so for those of you who are on Twitch and X and YouTube watching this, or as I actually call it, CommieTube, take this with a grain of salt. But the biggest reason why I am on Rumble is because of their stand on free speech. Like you can have someone like Nick Fuentes, who I fundamentally disagree with on everything. I think the guy is a complete and total asshole. I mean, that's my take. And then you can have Ben Shapiro, who I also despise, who I think is a raving asshole. And you've got those two right there in the middle, along with Jimmy Dore. You got your traditional leftists. You got your communists. You have Russian bots like me, and then they have a married dude with two kids just coming on and playing video games. My good pal, GetAwesome gaming right here, just like this is all nice. And so there's a niche for everybody, which is really kind of nice. And it's all about free speech, which is great.
Yeah, no, Rumble is a great platform. I should have done more with it myself. I actually just realized though that they were suing YouTube and that you couldn't sync your YouTube stuff anymore. So I've been watching for months like, when are my videos going to load? Like when is that going to happen? And I was just waiting on nothing the whole time, which is fantastic.
not until this is done, because basically the two lawsuits that Rumble has going on is one, they're suing YouTube as a monopoly. Well, Google, which I mean it is.
Yeah, no, it is.
And then another thing that they did is that they're suing them for two different things. One, Google was behind a boycott because, well, indirectly. That's one of the things that people always said was, if you don't like YouTube's policies, they'll make your own YouTube. Well, that's what Rumble is. So then this thing called Garn is basically a conglomerate of advertisers controlled by the World Economic Forum, then tried to pressure advertisers to not advertise on Rumble. And then they try to monopolize the ad market going into YouTube, which of course drives prices up even more. And so they tried to kill Rumble by making it where that the other companies just would not advertise on Rumble.
And it's kind of funny because I seem to recall a similar thing happening to Twitter right after Elon purchased
Yep.
it. Thinking,
That
yeah,
that's why Rumble and X are in a joint lawsuit against uh, against Google and also this conglomerate of
yeah,
advertisers saying that you cannot do that.
yeah. No,
It's straight up against the law. You can't do it, but they're doing it.
I'll have my fingers crossed that they win, because I'll be honest, like there is definitely a power structure within the content creation space that is hard to it's hard to fight.
Yeah. Oh, very much so.
Yeah.
I mean, from the content creator level, I mean, you're a content creator, as good as I do. It's hard to get noticed. It's hard to break out. It's hard to build a brand. And then if you have a place like YouTube where depending on what you do, like the algorithm is basically they will either build you or it will grind you into nothing.
Yeah.
And then you come over here to Rumble where there is no algorithm.
Yeah.
Which is really great. It's just you rise or fail based on the quality of the content that you put out. If people want to support you, like Tiger Lily did, he did the donation. Another thing people are able to do is that for less than the price of coffee, you can become a monthly subscriber, monthly supporter of the channel. And one of the things I really like about Rumble is like on YouTube, if someone becomes a subscriber on your channel, YouTube takes 40% of it. Here on Rumble, you keep 100% of those dollars. So I say, if you subscribe to my channel for $5 a month, I get all 5 of it. Okay. Rumble doesn't take a dime of it, which is huge.
Yeah, that's definitely a problem with Twitch for sure. I think they're the ones who are almost like pushing for a 50-50 split or something ridiculous like that.
That's wild.
Yeah, no, Twitch is I like that. If I were to take, let's put it this way, right now I'm Streamlabs. I'm doing the vertical stream on YouTube, and that's actually worked probably the best for me, just because I think a lot of people anymore, they just view short content, so they're constantly scrolling through their phones. And in which case, if you're streaming something vertical, it can get fed to somebody who might have some interest in the type of things that you do. And so I've had a lot of luck with that. But yeah, Twitch is, I think in the time that I've added almost like 200 subscribers on YouTube, I think I've gotten maybe a whole whopping 10 followers on Twitch. So that's the stream that would feed into this type of content would probably be the stream that I would consider moving, just because Twitch is, if you think YouTube's bad, dude, Twitch is 10 times worse, unfortunately. Like there's no algorithm whatsoever. There's no way to feed. And the thing of it is like they've tried to fix it. Like I think they have a recommendation feature now, but you have to have at least 10 average viewers for the recommendation feature to even kick in for you. And like the problem is there's been no discoverability on that platform for so long that people just go there for who they know and they don't engage with the platform whatsoever. They're just like, if they know somebody's live, they're going there to view that person,
So it's very community driven then. Like the only time I'll be honest with you, the only time I ever go to Twitch, I'll go there if I see that you're on or if UB Gaming is on. That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, if y'all are on, great, but I don't look for anybody else there.
Right. Yeah, and that's unfortunately that's the way the platform works. So if you're big enough, the platform will feed you people, but if you're trying to grow on the platform, like you have to grow somewhere else and then get those people to then push you up to be visible on Twitch so that you have the opportunity to grow on there. You can't really start from zero. You got to start from like realistically, like if you can go to Twitch and have 20 viewers, then you'll at least be visible most of the time to where you can actually get some impressions from people seeing you. But even then it's minimal, because you have to like generally it's like if they're searching the game, it'll list all the streams by the number of viewers of that game. So yeah, you'll have some visibility, but just for that game,
Gotcha. And I remember that Twitch just really had a big excess of content creators last year. What was that all about? What happened?
There's been so many different issues with them. I think a lot of it was when Kick came around, and then Kick was like, okay, well, we're only going to do a 90-10 split. And there was just a whole, basically boiled down to, there was a whole lot of people who were like, you know what, I'm sick of them taking an obscene amount of money. On top of that, Twitch has also started feeding ads into streams that you can subscribe to get out of. So it's like, you can say we're doing a stream right now. Okay.
Right.
How great would it be for the viewing experience if in the middle of this stream, it just paused and started feeding all the viewers ads?
Kind of like what YouTube does with the mid-roll ads.
But generally that's for videos. Like if you think about YouTube, even in the streams, they generally don't add advertisement in the middle of a stream. They might do something when you first go into a stream.
Right.
But if you're in a stream on YouTube, they are smart enough to go, okay, we're not going to feed you ads right in the middle of your viewing content, because right now people are viewing an engagement between two creators. Like to come in and get ads breaking up that, like you're literally missing the point for why you're tuning in,
Right. Nope, I get it. I hear you. And so that's what Twitch started doing, that they started just doing the mid-roll ads.
Yeah, it's the worst thing ever. Like I cannot. And the thing of it is it's not even remotely how do I put it? They're very transparent in their greed as to why they're doing it, because if you subscribe to a creator, you'll opt out of mid-roll ads for that creator. And I think just recently they've gotten a program where you can pay them so much a month just to opt out of the mid-roll ads for the entire platform. So basically it's like we want our advertisers to pay us, but if you don't want to, then you can just go ahead and pay us.
Yeah, one or the other, y'all have to. I remember seeing that Twitch, they laid off a couple hundred people. I guess it's some hard times going on over there. What is your experience been like on Twitch? Like I'm there now, but it's just because of Rumble Studio. I mean, if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't even have an account.
It's never been good. The majority of the followers that I have on Twitch were followers that I met on X, so
that's how you got me.
Yeah. That's how we met. So like, that just goes to show you that their discoverability is an entirely different platform. That's their best discoverability is somewhere else. So
Gotcha.
yeah, from what I understand, they've never actually been profitable. Now, I don't know that for sure. I don't know what their infrastructure costs are. But I guess at least since Amazon purchased them, they've never turned a profit on them. I don't know how true that is. I don't know how that could be true, because I can't imagine it costs that astronomical amounts of money to operate that platform. But
I know that YouTube has never turned a profit. Never.
Yeah. I don't. Well, here's the thing with that.
But Google's big enough; they don't care.
Right. And you got to think too, it is the largest, it's the second, they literally own the first largest and the second largest search engines on the internet.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So, I mean, when they say not profitable, like I kind of wonder how that math works out, because you literally are controlling the two main pipelines of information through the internet. Like if you're not turning any sort of profit on that, I would wonder how, because that's controlling a massive amount of information. And you're telling me you haven't monetized that in a way that can benefit you. That seems bizarre that they would be doing it this long. And I would just say, I question that statement. That seems almost self-serving in nature,
Especially since the control of information is so important, especially in the day and age that we live in now. I mean, I think that you're probably right. I think that either they're willing to take a loss, quote unquote, on paper.
Yeah.
So that they get the tax write-off. So that way they can say, oh, look how much money this we've lost. Well, on the flip side, though, they're able to control the flow of information that's going on, well, frankly, Western Europe, here in North America, just all over. I mean, it's absolutely insane. And then one of the reasons that Rumble's suing YouTube is, like, for example, back there in the primaries, Rumble had exclusive rights to promote, to stream the debates.
Mm-hmm.
YouTube suppressed it. They suppressed it on their platform. So
through Google?
Yeah, well, through YouTube.
Oh, through YouTube. Okay, I got you. So they suppressed it within their own algorithm. Understood. Yeah. Well, I mean, you got to think too, like there's so many things, even with the most recent debate that we've had this year. I know that like CNN, they were controlling what media organizations had access to even be able to stream that event. And so they were allowing like all of the big established, the Foxes and the MSNBCs and all of them, they all had free access to it. But if you were an independent creator coming from, external media, they denied a lot of access to that. So I could see, the controlling of information from mainstream sources seeping its way online. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things that really kind of blew my mind, I saw over the weekend, and as content creators, one of the things that we have no control over what someone says in the chat.
Mhm.
I mean, someone says it, it's there. I mean, we can block it after the fact, but we can't stop it.
Yeah.
And one of the things that over in Britain, they're talking about going after people for here in the United States, asking for extradition for Facebook posts or comments that were made on YouTube videos. And it's just like, I mean,
Are you
that's
talking about the actual commenter, or are they just saying if you had a video that had comments on it?
Both.
Wow.
That's what they're talking about. I mean, just very dystopian. Like they're talking about just actually trying to extradite people in the United States who made a comment either on a video or on a post, and then try and actually have them extradited to face trial in the UK because of their hate speech laws. I mean, to me, that is freaking wild. I mean, can we make 1984 fiction again?
How does that even work logistically? Because like, it's not like your driver's license or anything like that, where you actually post something online and you have absolute, like, this is my show, like there's making the connection of it's like, Facebook. Yeah, you confirm yourself on Facebook at least.
Yeah.
Like, I get comments on YouTube. I don't know who those people are. It's not their name,
Yeah, no, it's wild. And I mean, that's a question that I had, because if you have a platform, which is what Rumble and YouTube, at least in theory, is, versus a publisher, those are two very different things.
Yeah.
And that's where section was it? Is it 282? That provides protections against a platform. I mean, how does that even work? I mean, I don't know, but that's just a rabbit trail. So
yeah. I know what you're talking about. I can't remember the actual name of what the number of the clauses that protects the platform holders, but they've been talking about removing that. Here's the crazy thing is, even the platform holders are okay with removing that to a certain point at this point, because they've gotten so big that what can you do to them anyways,
Oh yeah, I mean, especially if in the so-called Western democracies, where what you do, just fund someone's primary campaign and say, hey, do this for me, I hope you get elected. So kind of just steering this rabbit trail back. You live in Ohio.
Yes.
Actually, no, let's go on another rabbit trail. JD Vance. I don't know nothing about him. I'm a hick of Montana. Do you like him? Do you not like him? Tell me about this guy, because I know nothing about him except he's married to an Indian.
Yeah. I supported JD before Trump actually endorsed him. When he was running for Senate, I kind of went and looked at who was there, and it was a lot so let me provide the context of who he was running against, at least in the primary when he was running here in Senate. Bernie Moreno, who is up there now, he's running against Sherrod Brown. I don't expect him to win, because Sherrod Brown is kind of a political cockroach. He's one of these union blue dog Democrats where they present themselves as something that hasn't existed for 50 years. Gotcha. So he's done a very good job at painting himself as like the working man's friend. And then Bernie Moreno, unfortunately, he did work at a car dealership, so they have very effectively plastered him with the view of a used car salesman. So anyways, that's one of the guys that he was running against. That was sort of the backup for Trump if he wouldn't have endorsed Vance. Then we had Matt Dolan. I believe it was Matt. It was one of the Dolans. Either way. So I'm a Cleveland sports fan. You can see Northeast Ohio here.
Yep.
So I've supported all the Cleveland sports teams, and the Dolans own the Indians, now the Guardians. And so let's put it this way. As a Cleveland's Indians / Guardians fan, we've had a lot of baseball players that we like, that we get to keep for a short amount of time before they become pricey, and then we trade them away to the Yankees or some other rich team to try to get something back, because we're a small market team. We don't spend a lot of money. And so consequently, we get good players, and then we try to get as much back for them as we can. That's just the way it's always been. And I just, with the Dolans, it's like, I feel like if you were given power, you would use that power like you run your business, where you will make plays that aren't necessarily good for your interests, but like they're always kind of making trade-offs, as far as they just operate cheaply, I guess, is probably the best way to describe it. Like I would expect them to continue in representing me. I would have expected them to continue that sort of trajectory. And then we had Josh Mandel, and I can't even remember what position he held in this state. A younger guy, kind of reminds me of the guy who was VP when Romney ran. I can't think of his name. The guy who was his running mate when Romney ran. But I mean, he's just younger. And the one thing about him is let's put it this way. He was former military, but you would know that because it was literally him in either in his uniform or whatever, every single ad. Like he was not, he was more than willing to make sure that he used his military service as visibly as possible all the time. Gotcha. And then he was kind of like another sort of corporate. You could see he had very like Bush-like tendencies. So that led us back to JD. And so I started to watch in some of JD's speeches and just sort of see how he presented himself. And, he makes a lot of good arguments, I think, as far as just addressing the working class. And then, since he's been elected, I've looked at, we had the derailment in East Palestine a while back. He was very on the front lines, very visible. In fact, Sherrod Brown, he kind of got involved in it first, and then Sherrod Brown kind of had to get involved in it afterwards, just so he didn't look terrible, because he tried to present himself as the working man. So like JD Vance is like, okay, we got to start looking at legislation, to protect, not only to make the rail lines, pay their fair share as far as helping these people, but also to see how this stuff happens again. And he was out there, and then a few weeks later, it was like, well, Sherrod Brown now thinks this is a problem too. And so I guess that's just to say, and then I told my parents beforehand, I'm like, I'm supporting JD Vance. And at the time, Trump hadn't endorsed anybody. And they're like, why are you supporting him? He just wrote a book or whatever. And I'm like, no, I've listened to him speak. I believe that he's at least presents himself as the most reasonable option out of what we have. Gotcha. And that's sort of how I got into it. I'm not going to sit here and try and tell you he's like the greatest thing since sliced bread, but I had a choice of essentially four, because the guy that was running against them that was a Democrat was very much like a Sherrod Brown light, where he always was. I can't even remember his name anymore. I'd have to look it up. But anyways, he was very much trying to present himself as like the working man's Democrat as well, and trying to kind of do the same thing that Sherrod Brown did. But anyways, I digress. Out of the selection of four, I definitely liked him significantly above the other three options.
Gotcha. On that note, take just a moment. We're going to pay some bills here. You're about to see one of the things that makes Rumble Studio so freaking awesome. I'm because they have actually revolutionized the way that content creators are able to get paid. And you're about to see it right here. And so Rumble has a system that they call Rack, which basically it'll take all your viewers, regardless of the platform, and then you can read these ads, these sponsorships, and then you actually get paid for it, which is freaking huge. And that's what we're going to do right now for $17.75 coffee. Have you heard of the recent advertising scandal? Let me break it down. The CEO of Rumble, Chris Pavlovsky, recently released an email from Inspire Brands and Dunkin' Donuts. The email explicitly states the right-wing culture of Rumble is too polarizing. In other words, Dunkin' Donuts has a problem with right-wing culture and wants nothing to do with it or Rumble. So here's the solution. Stop buying products that don't support you and start supporting brands that support you. The competing coffee brand that we all need to get behind is Rumble's 1775 coffee. For a limited time, Rumble is offering buy 2 bags of coffee and get one for free. Go to 1775coffee.com and enter promo code Duncan to get this limited time deal. You can also scan the QR code right there on your screen. So I mean that's the power of Rumble right there. So like right
Very
now,
nice.
I've got nobody on YouTube. I've got 2 people watching on Twitch. We've got 14, 15 watching now on Rumble, and we just got paid off of all of that. And
That's
so
yeah,
I
very
mean, what I
nice.
would say to you, brother, is start using Rumble Studio. I
Yeah.
mean, that's how you're really going to be able just to kind of just break out. And frankly, you're supporting a company that supports you and supports free speech, which is huge.
Now, I did want to ask you, do you know if they support the vertical format yet?
They do.
They do? Okay.
They
Yeah,
do.
I'll have to look into it then for sure.
Yeah, because basically what you'll do is like what I do on my end is you either use Streamlabs or you use OBS. In your case, you use Streamlabs.
Mhm.
And then once you, at the bottom of Rumble Studio, where you have the managed participants, you will set up RTMP. Streamlabs will log into it. Then whatever you see on Streamlabs is then what goes out to all the different platforms.
Okay.
And so that's what I was saying is that before it was just a massive problem, just terrible lag. The video sucked. It was bad. They have fixed all of that. And they are really taking this thing above and beyond with the way that content creators are able to get paid. Because
Awesome.
ad revenue doesn't pay very much.
No.
And the economy sucks. So people doing donations like Tiger Lily did earlier, or people becoming monthly subscribers is rare. It happens, but it's rare.
Mhm.
Rumble recognizes that, and so the way that they incentivize is using Rumble Studio, let you multi-stream for free, and then you get paid for everyone that's watching across all the platforms that are watching you. That's the way to do it.
Definitely worth looking into. Yeah, like I said, I think that that's probably their best bet. Like I was saying with you before, I think really controlling the source of the actual stream is probably the way to go as far
Yeah,
as trying to promote them. Yeah.
yeah, I completely agree. So, I go back to JD Vance. You like him?
Oh yeah, yeah. Like I don't I let's put it this way. I voted for Trump in 2016, 2020. I'm not the biggest thing to me about Trump was he wasn't one of them. And so that's to say that if you ask me if I, personally, if I like his mannerisms, things like that, I think people blow it out of proportion, but I get
Yeah,
it too. You know what I'm
he's a
saying?
he's a New
And
York liberal businessman. I mean, that's
yeah,
what you're going to get.
yeah, JD Vance, they hold a lot of similar ideals. Now I think Vance is probably, I would say, like the place that he's coming from is generally going to be presented more like you or I would talk. Like
Right.
he's just not going to come out there and have a cadence like what Trump would have. So I think
Gotcha.
in a way, I think he's probably a good pick just because he can balance him out message wise. And I
Gotcha.
think and obviously too, like you're no longer trying to do what you did with Pence, where you're trying to go out and corral a specific subsect of the voting base. At this point, everybody's on board, so you at least might as well get with somebody who can probably like message things a little less antagonistically. Yeah, I guess you could say.
Nope, I can see that. That would
Yeah.
definitely be that would definitely be before we wrap this thing up, where do you see the gaming industry going as far as Western studios versus Eastern studios? Do you think that you're going to see the rise of the small independent studio? And do you think that they're going to be able to start eating the AAA guys' lunch?
I think the East is going to continue to grab a larger market share. I think you can go back and look at Capcom. Like, while so many of these different companies are talking about, oh, hey, we're not seeing profitability, Capcom's been seeing profitability every quarter for like 7 straight years. So it's not an industry wide thing. It is specific to one subsect of the industry, and that subsect would rather not acknowledge that whatsoever. Unfortunately, though, I don't see. Let's put it this way. I think Hollywood has kind of started to get the clue, and you're starting to see some shift behind the scenes for things that you probably won't see for years from now, because anytime you make a shift in the industry, in the entertainment industry, that's going to take a long time before you actually see the fruits of that labor. I think we're starting to see that in Hollywood. I think we will see that sooner rather than later in the gaming industry, because I think one of the major things that I really didn't address earlier is the fact that in AAA, the budgets are absolutely out of control.
Right.
And so you can't really, like, you could eat losses in Hollywood a lot longer than you can eat losses in the AAA gaming space, because the losses are so much bigger in the AAA gaming space. So
Gotcha.
I don't think that this can continue forever. The problem is a lot of these studios are so full of people that were hired for no merit other than their identity that a lot of them are just they're not salvageable. Like, if you get a studio where you have to fire 90% of the studio to salvage the studio, at that point you just close down the studio. You know,
I wonder if a lot of the people that even hire are even gamers.
I don't think so. I mean, if you looked at any of the studio pictures, particularly like of the,
I have not.
If the Ubisoft and EA studio pictures I've seen is like 90% 30 to 40-year-old white women. Like, that's literally,
that explains a lot.
Yeah. So like they're not going to be meeting their audience's demands for some time. And then like, if you look at a studio like that and you're like, okay, we need to remove all this identity nonsense, how do you do that? Like 90% of you just have to shut it down, because there's nothing salvageable. You got to shut it down and start a brand new studio. I think if you look at BioWare, that's a studio that's literally on its last leg after like bombing 3 straight times. Like, if they fail on this next Dragon Age game, I don't see how they survive. Rocksteady after Suicide Squad, I can't understand how that studio survives. And then if you look at these studios and what they're making, it's like you would have to cut out so much. Like, if you've seen the DLC characters in Suicide Squad.
I have not, because that's all the reasons why I really want to bring you on, is because I know nothing about most of the newer games, because I'll go in and if I look at a character and they're trying to push a female lead who's more manly than I am, that's automatically a turn off for me. I want to see jiggles. I want to see jiggling up top, and I want to see some kind of appeal, like Ada Wong. Like, no, the Resident Evil 4 remake.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say something controversial. I think it sucked. I hated it.
I still have yet to go through it, to be honest. I've had it sitting on my backlog for probably about 6 months now.
You're not missing nothing. I mean, the Resident Evil 2 remake was top notch. Absolutely fantastic.
I played that one. That was phenomenal. Yeah.
I'm actually going to be streaming that one here on the channel. Resident Evil 4. I'm a huge fan of the Wii. I'm actually going to get a capture card, so I start streaming my Wii and my NES. I'm going to do it.
You were on an island with that one, dude. I did not. Motion controls could die for me. I would not be happier. I just hated the Wii. I hated it.
Well, you got to remember, I'm being backed by my handlers in Moscow, so whatever they say, I have to like. That's what I got to do. Yeah. So I see you over there on YouTube, Snake. Welcome. And so for me, I really liked the Wii. I love the way the Resident Evil 4, especially. I grew up in the South, and there's something satisfying. I mean, nothing says I love you like a headshot at 50 yards of the pistol.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just me. But Resident Evil 4, I mean, the remake was horrible. I mean, they completely, in my opinion, they broke Ada Wong. And you can't have Leon Kennedy without Ada.
I feel like now I have to get to it, because now I have to see what I think of it now. You've got me at least curious. But
well, I'll tell you what, you come on there. I will make sure I will be on every one of your streams, because I'm going to want to have your opinion, and then you need to have me on your channel. So that way you can tell me your reaction to it, because I think it's a steaming pile of horse shit.
Like I said, I played the initial one on GameCube, beat it multiple times over on GameCube. So I endured the GameCube controller to play that game almost solely for that game. I bought a GameCube for that and Metroid Prime.
Hold on. So you're telling me, so you're going to talk crap about the Wii, but you're going to prop up the GameCube.
I told you specifically why I took a crap on the Wii, though, and it was for something that was not present in the GameCube. I'm not saying the GameCube was without its problems, but I'm talking about not only motion controls, but the early days of motion controls when they were not responsive. Let's not forget they wanted to release a whole new Zelda, and their motion controls could not handle it, so they had to create an extension for that remote just so that their controls could handle it properly.
Well, Snake over on YouTube, he's agreeing with me. He says the Wii is very fun. And listen, there's something satisfying about throwing the Wii controller across the room by accident because the strap broke, or bowling backwards with Wii bowling. Just turn your back. My wife would kick my butt. She would turn backwards. She would bowl backwards. And she would eat my lunch every single time. And it was just like, what the hell? This is black privilege. For those of you who don't know, my wife is black, so I'm not being racist. So, I mean, she'd just roll backwards like, ha, ha, and she'd just laugh at me. It's like, what the hell? What is this?
Let me say this. I don't think the Wii was meritless. I just didn't enjoy it. But when it comes to the GameCube, it was like there was a lot I didn't enjoy about that, but I was willing to get invested for just a few games.
Understandable. I can get behind that. I mean, for me, I really like the spin-offs with the Resident Evil, the rail shooters. Like one was called, I don't remember what the hell it was called. One featured Leon. It was him. It was a prequel, basically. Chronicles? Yeah, the Umbrella Chronicles, and then there was another one, and those are a lot of fun. I enjoyed them. But now, I mean, you have got to do Resident Evil 4 because I will be on every one of your streams because I want to hear your honest feedback while you're playing about just what the hell they did to Ada Wong. Her voice actress, she sounded incredibly monotone. Nothing against the lady. I'm sure she's a very sweet lady, but she's not Ada Wong. And then the writing was horrible.
It could have also, like I said, it could have been a very bad voice actor casting. Like that happens sometimes, I would say. But anyways, to digress, off of my original point, have you seen the DLC characters for Suicide Squad? Mind you, I don't play these games.
I have not.
It's just like it is like watching, like when I look at these games, I don't play like a lot of these games that I just know they're going to be bad. So why would I do that? But I will definitely be a fly on the wall for like an absolute train wreck. You know what I'm saying? Like, I may not. Okay, so just to be into, these are the DLC characters, the 2 DLC characters for Suicide Squad that they've had so far. They've had a Joker, and when I say Joker, I would say if you wanted to try to compare it to any of the actors that played Joker, it is closest to the Jared Leto Joker. Just to kind of give you an idea of what quality of Joker they went with. He is, I don't know. He's got, for some reason, he's missing a leg. Anyways, he's the lesser of the two. Like, he's not as problematic.
He's still leg.
Awful. Yeah, he's missing a leg for some reason. I don't know. Like, he's this very like bombastic. It was like they were trying to chase Mark Hamill's Joker, but they just couldn't get it. You know what I'm saying?
I do. I pick up what you're putting down.
And then the second one is Mrs. Freeze. And I say Mrs. Freeze, and I don't think this is like Nora, his wife, like in an alternate universe taking his space. No, this is like frosted, spiked, short hair. Just think as stereotypical butch lesbian as you could get. And this is something that they released expecting people to pay money for.
Gotcha. I can see that. So, I don't play the game, but Marvel Contest of Champions, I guess that's a fighting game. And Rizzo the Legend, a good friend of mine, he plays it. And I was looking at some of the characters. It's just like, who the hell would ever buy this? Who would play this? This makes no sense to me.
Dude, look at I did a video on Concord because I tried it for the free weekend. The characters in that game, I cannot imagine anybody wanting to put a skin on them. I don't want to look at the base model, and they want me to buy skins for them. I'm like, are you out of your mind? Like, this is where it's getting as bad as possible with the DEI stuff. Is these people? I watched a video today, and it was somebody looking at one of these. It was like, he's like, "Is this DEI the game?" And he made the description. It's like a 40-year-old millennial's idea of what a 20-year-old person should look like. Like,
Gotcha.
that's basically what all of this stuff boils down to. It's just as cliche. It's stuff that was like edgy 20 years ago, now being presented as edgy in 2024.
Gotcha.
It is the most just absolutely horrendous looking stuff. Like, there's one character in Concord who I literally thought was a female for the entire time that I played the demo, and didn't find out was actually supposed to be a guy until after I went back to do the video for it. So, like, you're talking about a character so androgynous that it's literally Pat from SNL, like in the 90s. Like, that is, and they want people to pay skins for Pat.
and the wonder why they're going broke.
Yeah. And they've all done this. And it's like, there's any of these studios, you look at, like, if there is so little quality control, there is nobody in the process that is willing to go, wait a second, guys, we need to make money, and you're putting this out. If there's nobody within the studio willing to stop at any point and say, I think this is a bad idea. Now, granted, that's out of fear of getting fired or whatever, but like, if you have that much of your power structure within these studios that are people that are willing to put out something so just financially idiotic that they're literally trying to market these things, you could just look at them and go, nobody's going to buy that. Like, if you looked at Mrs. Freeze, you're just like, there's absolutely no way anybody buys that. And if you look at their numbers on Steam, I think they jumped like 100 concurrent players for like a day or two.
So do you think it's more ideology driven then versus profit? Or, I mean, what?
I think it's, like I said, there's
middle-aged white women.
It's literally what it boils down to. There's this huge conglomerate that invests, and you have to show that your hirings fall within these certain parameters. And that's how you get studios with 90% of them being 30 to 40-year-old white women. And
hopefully they all die, and a bunch of independent Chinese and Indian studios just run roughshod over the market.
Well, that's why I think the East has been doing great. Like, if I look at my favorite game of last year, Lies of P, that came from a Korean studio that's never put out a game, and they put out something from a Souls fan. When we use the term Souls likes, we enjoy our Souls likes, but they are always well below what FromSoft does as far as their tier within our hearts. You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
Lies of P was the first time a Souls like felt like it belonged up there with the FromSoft games. And that was from a first-time Korean studio. You look at Stellar Blade, which obviously had a lot of controversy surrounding that when that came out because of the main character's appearance. Also was a pretty good game. I wouldn't put it Lies of P quality, but from a first-time Korean studio.
Which the jiggles are offensive.
Yeah. Black Myth Wukong, that's coming out Friday from a brand new Chinese studio. So, like, the East is filling in where all of the West is falling off.
Good. I hope that the Western studios, I hope that the big AAA ones just implode and a bunch of little independent ones come up and just kick the crap out of them.
I will be interested to see how these Western publishers try to rise from the ashes, or if they just ride this thing until the wheels fall off and there is no coming back. Because one of those two scenarios pretty much has to happen, in my opinion.
I'm voting for the wheels falling off. Just saying.
Since I'm the guy who watches the train wreck, I part of me is like, I'd like to see him try just so I could laugh at that too, Yeah.
No, exactly. Because I mean, that's the beauty of the free market, right? I mean, as these things fall apart, people who are coders and programmers and who actually do have this thing called an imagination and do enjoy making games, they'll free up capital. Well, they'll be able to start making studios and then start competing like BioWare back in the 90s. That was a great studio.
Oh yeah.
And now, if it's time to die, I mean,
I mean, their last two games were Andromeda and Anthem. Both of those games died on the vine almost instantly. Anthem was probably, at the time that it released, one of the biggest investments that EA has ever made. I'm surprised that they literally let BioWare try again with Dragon Age, because I'll be honest, from what I've seen of Dragon Age so far, which is not a lot, granted, I played the other 3 Dragon Ages, and so far I'm not aiming to pick this one up.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, buddy, I really do appreciate you just coming on. I appreciate all the extra time. We talked about originally 30 minutes, and here we are over an hour. So
Anytime, man.
I appreciate the extra time. Just a quick little recap for those of y'all who are watching. This is GetAwesome Gaming. He has a channel on Twitch. He has a channel over on ComedyTube, aka YouTube. He is also here on Rumble. Your favorite bot. I am doing my best to get more active on Rumble. Come to the dark side.
I will be uploading more for sure, now that I realize I'm not waiting for videos that'll never come.
Yeah, at least not till the lawsuit goes through. And frankly, I mean, you might as well join the other basket of deplorables, right? I mean, just come on over. Watch out. Do you just fall out of a coconut tree or what?
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing with that. I view gaming as escapism. So, like,
of course,
I won't. Clearly, I have beliefs and opinions, but I try to make my content as escapist as I can for everybody. So I don't necessarily put any of my opinions outside of gaming into that content. And so
that's smart.
Yeah, it's not just that. It's just I know what I love about gaming, and what I love about gaming is not the same content that I get blasted with every time I open up X. You know.
See, my problem is that I have no filter, and so if someone comes onto a chat and they ask me my opinion about something, I will tell you what my opinion is.
Oh yeah,
for good or for bad. And I'm really glad to be a part of Rumble, where at least, agree or disagree, I'm not gonna have some moderator just come and then just slap me with a band stick for 24 hours because I said something about a tranny. I mean,
I get that. I get that. Like, let's put it this way too. Like, I have a small business in real life, so like I have to operate with a filter. So I'm kind of used to operating with it to a certain degree, anyways. Just because
what kind of business do you have?
I have a carpet cleaning business, so it's a family business. We've had it for almost 40 years now. I've had it myself for like almost 20. So I let's put it this way. I've gone into houses, and my dad, he doesn't have a filter. And so I have the problem of he gets into a house and he starts talking politics, not knowing where that person is that he's talking to.
Right.
And I've had to, on several occasions, be like, they are bringing us into their home to clean their carpets. They are not bringing us into our home to express our political views. And so I guess I've just, once I started creating content, I just sort of carried that way of thinking over, you know?
That makes sense. Sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I completely get it. I 100% do. It's just I am more like your dad.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it. Yeah.
No, but do you have any parting words for the carbon-based life forms who are currently watching you on Twitch, YouTube, and Rumble? Oh, and on Twitter.
Yeah, if you guys like sort of just the wholesome, like I'll have my kids with me on stream, largely because like I'm streaming at hours that they're here anyways. So like yesterday I started trying to let my 6-year-old play a little bit of Elden Ring for the first time. And
how did that go?
He needs some work. Yeah. But you know, he'll get there. He's 6. I'm starting him young so that he can work his way through the natural Souls progression, I guess you will.
Gotcha.
But yeah, that's kind of the vibe that we put out. You know, and like I said, if that's something that interests you, I'm there most nights. Now I won't be on tonight, but let's see, Tuesday through Friday I will be, and then I'll be back on again Sunday. So like most nights I stream. I'm still kind of playing with my schedule to see what works out, as well as with family life, while still being able to consistently stream and produce content. You know, I'm trying to find that natural balance at the moment.
That's the hard part.
Yeah, that's really that's really the biggest thing right now is like, okay, well, I want to stream, but I got to make sure the kids get baths and get off the bed, you know?
Yep. Yep. And they can also find you on X, right? At GetAwesome.
GetAwesome G.
GetAwesome G.
I couldn't get gaming, so I just went GetAwesome G. So that's the only platform where I'm not specifically GetAwesome gaming, but I figured at least
enough.
if people get it. Yeah, you know.
Oh yeah, I'm the only PutinBot. On Twitch, PutinBot wouldn't work because it was offensive. It was an offensive name, and I got banned since I made the account. But if I put in real PutinBot, that's just fine. So
if you're a fake PutinBot, you can get on there, but not just a PutinBot.
Right. If you're a real PutinBot or a false PutinBot, that's fine. But if you're a PutinBot, as soon as you click that create account, you explode. It's kind of fun.
I get to a certain degree why that would set their filters off, but it's like, it's not a curse word. It's not it's literally the leader of a country. I get it. Like, we don't like the country at the time. I get what the reasoning, but come on. Right. Like, how does that set off filters? That doesn't even make any sense.
I don't know, brother, but it does. It 100% does.
That would be like going on and like reporting on what's going on in Russia and not being allowed to say Putin. Like, could you imagine trying to deliver that?
I mean, I've got nothing for you. I mean, and the thing is, people have lost their minds over Trump. TDS is such a real thing. I mean, that's one of the reasons why. There's a reason why that's there. That's me. I'm your favorite Russian bot. And then just to trigger the YouTube moderators, it's just, I am the master of this information. I influence elections, one gamer, one pixel at a time. I'm a dumb hick out in Montana. I can't do nothing. But sure enough.
Hey, the thing is, though, none of that should set off anything. Like, can you not have a sense of humor in your filters?
Have you ever met a middle-aged white woman that has a cat that has a sense of humor?
No, but again, we've literally spent this entire stream discussing middle-aged white women in corporate America and their roles.
Were you offended about JD Vance's Catwoman content or comment?
No, not at all. Like, if you look at these people, none of them have kids. None of them have kids. Like, they tried to say that Kamala has kids. When she married the guy that she's married to now, she had 2 stepkids that were 15 and 19. At 15 and 19, one of those isn't even a kid. So you can't even sit there and say it's a stepkid. It's a step child. It's a step daughter, I guess. Yeah, okay. But like, she doesn't have kids. Like, she's never changed a diaper in her life. Like, so she like sitting there and calling her a cat lady. It's like, that's literally what she is. Like, you can be upset about that if you like, but like, none of these people are parents. And the idea that they would be able to communicate the needs of parents is questionable. And I think it's reasonable to call out that question. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm not sure about that.
Shut up, Alexa. I would not trust her to watch my dog, much less my kids. No. And one of the funniest.
Oh no, we got technical difficulties.
We're talking about how JD Vance had colonized his wife. I was like, have y'all looked at Kamala's husband? He is the whitest freaking crackery Jew ever. If anyone's colonized, it's her. So, I mean, it's just.
Here's the thing, though. And that just goes into the fact that, like, he's married to an Indian woman, and it couldn't just be that they have a relationship. He had to have colonized her. Like, they can't. It's the party that's supposed to be anti-racist, yet somehow they have the most racist positions possible at every given turn.
My wife. And I mean, I kid you not, GetAwesome. She has been called an Oreo before, black on the outside, white on the inside. And we were once, I don't know, 6-7 years ago, we were helping a family friend at the time campaign at a little town just north of where we are, just south of the Canadian border. Mm-hmm. And these people came up and said, "Oh, what are you? The token?" And talk about the most racist people just on the planet are the so-called progressives. They can go right straight to hell.
Diversity of everything but thought,
Yep. Yeah.
That's literally how we got the NPC meme.
Yeah.
Like, if I talk to anybody online, getting a comment set, I will guarantee you I'll be called an incel without knowing anything about me, because it's the same insult that they've used for like the last 15 years.
What the hell is an incel?
It's supposed to be it's considered an involuntary celibate. So it's basically trying to say, like, you live alone in your parents' basement and you don't get any action and because that's how they literally think of value. Yeah. And no, I guarantee you, if I have any conversation with anybody from that ilk, they will use an incel because they don't have another word to describe somebody they disagree with.
Just like I ran out of arguments, so racist has to be the default.
Well, yeah, incel though is the one where they're like they try to link
That's the
that
basement
one.
dweller.
Yeah, they'll use that one. Occasionally they'll use neckbeard, but not often anymore.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
That's wild.
no,
So
their verbiage is hilarious.
So I think that we've covered everything on this
Pretty
stream. I think
much,
that
pretty
I think we've covered gaming, we've covered studios, we've covered finances, we've covered insults, racism, Kamala Harris, JD Vance. Okay, so let's just go. Let's just go and just turn this thing to a full-on dumpster fire. Do you Get Awesome Gaming endorse Donald Trump for president?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna vote for him. Like I'm not, it's not like he's waiting for my endorsement. It's not like, hey, I gotta wait until we see what Andy's gonna do. But yeah, I mean, I
Hey, listen,
definitely.
Andy matters. Listen, the way I vote directly is proportion to what is it you do. Gerald SC over there on YouTube, you've come in, you've got a chance to see Get Awesome. Subscribe to him on YouTube. Great guy. But no, I mean, I'm personally, I don't like Trump. I'm not going to vote for him. I'm going to write in Vivek. I love Vivek Ramaswamy.
I like
freaking
Vivek.
love the guy.
I like Vivek, but in my mind, like Trump is like one of those things where it's like I'm going to put him in because if it's Harris,
where's the middle finger?
He's a middle finger, and it's like can you imagine Kamala Harris as president? Like that, if you listen to that woman try to speak, if you listen to that woman try to she sniffs her own farts when she speaks. Like she will just literally word salad her way through anything without a damned idea going on in her head.
We have to unburden what has been the culture of time.
That's the most popular one, but if you listen to her, she literally thinks she's Maya Angelou whenever she gets on a podium. It's ridiculous. As somebody who has that insane of an ego, I cannot imagine being put into the presidency. I'm not sitting here saying Trump don't think he's hot stuff. He clearly does, but
oh yeah, Trump's an egomaniac. I mean, let's be honest.
At least when he speaks, though, I can understand somewhat coherent thought.
Right. Oh yeah,
I kind of view
I get it.
I kind of view Kamala Harris as the same as Biden, just without the dementia. It's just naturally how she is that she sounds crazy.
I think that you're probably right. I mean, the thing I like about Vivek is that he would actually lay out policy positions and they explain how he'd be able to get there because the dude's a lawyer in addition to being a businessman.
Yeah.
And in 2016, I was all in for Trump because I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this. And now this time, Trump's telling me he's going to build the FBI a brand new headquarters, despite the fact that they undermined him his entire 4 years. Despite the fact that they spied on him, it's just like you don't cure a cancer by coddling it. You cure cancer by cutting it out and killing it, and that's why I like Vivek.
Yeah,
just followed him on Rumble. Thank you, Gerald.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. But yeah, I did like Vivek as well, but we're at a point where Vivek's no longer there, so I don't see the point. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, it'd be a straight up protest vote. Plus Montana's really red anyway, so I mean,
it's not like Montana's anything's going to change there. I could probably vote Vivek in Ohio, and Trump's still going to win Ohio. Let's be honest.
Especially since JD is your senator.
Yeah,
I mean, to me, I mean, Florida. Here's what's weird.
In a way, I'm kind of sad to see him go because we just got him, and now DeWine's going to pick his replacement.
DeWine's y'all's governor, right?
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right, brother. Well, I guess I've kept you on here long enough. You're such an unwilling prisoner. For those of y'all who are just tuning in, we're going to go ahead and end this thing. This is Get Awesome Gaming. Y'all can find him on Twitter, or X, whatever, YouTube,
Twitter,
Twitch. He is here on Rumble. Great guy. I mean, I've had the pleasure of knowing him for years, and he was gracious enough to let me keep him for 40 minutes over the allotted time. So
hey, if you want me back at any point, I'm here.
Hey, I will always have you back. And I'm telling you though, once you play at Resident Evil 4, I want you to have me on your channel because I want to know. I want to have a back and forth. Am I off the reservation, or is that game really a big steaming pile of crap?
I tell you what, after Black Myth Wukong comes out, so we're talking mid to late September, I'm kind of getting into the Halloween season already. I was
Yeah.
planning on going through 2 and 3, but I'm just going to go ahead and skip ahead to 4 and get
Do
it
4.
out there and see what it's like.
I mean, if you got to eat the crap sandwich, do it quick. Just get it down. Then have some dessert after.
All right, fair enough.
All right, y'all. Get awesome, my friend. It was such a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, yeah. No, it's my pleasure. Y'all have a good one. Go follow this man, and he will be coming more here on Rumble. He's been waiting for his videos to come over, but because of the lawsuit, wasn't happening. But
and I did not know a bit of that.
Is what it is, brother.
Yep.
All right, bud. Y'all have yourselves a good one. Everybody, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.